Oh man, yeah, I didn't eat today.
Oh, shit.
I had a couple of interviews and let's see. We're live. You'll have to. I guess you'll have to. We're building an audience for you. Nice. I think we'll have to stand a little bit closer. That's fine. Alrighty. 1, 2. Ready when you are.
I'm ready.
Ready?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
What's up guys, Kenan here from 99 Career Options. Today I have with me Jesper, who works as an urban planner at Tøyen. I'm really grateful that he found some time to come and chat with us to find out more about how it is actually to work as an urban planner. Jesper, welcome.
Thank you, thank you.
Do you want to tell us in 1 or 2 sentences what you do?
Oh, yeah, so 1 or 2 sentences.
You can use more if you want.
Yeah, okay, cool. Thank you. No, I mean like, so an urban planner is a spatial planner, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can plan a lot of things, but in essence, an urban planner should, plan space and time is sort of like the area that you're in. And an urban planner should be working for a better future, I guess, for the most people that
Mm-hmm.
can sort of that it will affect. So if you take so if you take a city, something that you do will have an immediate effect or a late effect,
Mm-hmm.
and you never really know what the effect might be right now or in a couple of years, but you try to plan for it, and you have different plans. Some will sort of last for 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
or 20 or 30 or 40, but in the end, something that you plan will probably be there for a long time, longer than you're alive, right? So it ties into other professions like architecture and landscape architecture and engineering.
So
Yeah.
how is it to work on something that you know that it will affect hundreds of people, and also I guess, as you mentioned, you know that the interaction between people will be given also by the way the buildings are in place. How is it actually to work for something that it will affect so many people?
Yeah, so it might affect, it might actually affect hundreds of thousands or millions of people.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting. I think if you enjoy working with people, you need to enjoy working with people to be an urban planner, and you need to have an understanding because of what we talked about, that we're building something physical, or we're planning for something physical, and it will go over X amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
You also need to understand that this will affect so many people. So you need empathy. You need to understand people, and you need to work with people in situations. And I think first and foremost, with an urban planner, it's about making sort of like a common ground,
Mm-hmm.
a common language. So you often become an intermediate, or so like a speaker between professionals, non-professionals, and politicians.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody said a lot of times that planning is politics and politics is planning,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very true. I think that once you sort of start working, you understand more and more that what you do as a professional, which urban planning is a profession,
Mm-hmm.
The only way that it will be implemented is through politics. So
yeah,
because the only way that anyone will sort of build a building or build a park or whatever you're planning for is through politicians, and you need to sort of tell politicians why it's a good plan.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole sort of language that is my profession, and that's why people hire me, or I work for people, so that I can sort of make that language and tell politicians why this is a good plan or why it isn't a good plan.
Isn't that funny that you need to think long term for maybe 100 years when politicians all the time think just for 3 to 4 years, right?
We can talk about this for hours, but yeah, that's one of the hardest parts and maybe the most annoying parts of the job. Is exactly that. You plan at least, you never plan for, seldomly if never, you plan for anything that's as short as 4 years. It's usually much longer, and so it's I don't know. I think we should go that way. Even it's a really tough issue, and I think that's also why sometimes as an urban planner you think, oh gosh, I wish I was a politician so I could just sort of like tell people and like this is really important. We need to do this, but the political system is. I'm glad I'm not a politician. Yeah, it is hard.
So I guess the challenge comes with the job.
Yeah, it does. It definitely does.
Can you give us some examples of some projects that you work on lately?
Mm-hmm. First, to just tie into that, I think it's important to say that there are two different planners, I guess, urban planners. There's the planner who's a consultant. I'm a consultant.
Yeah.
And then there's the planner in a municipal administration. I think that's the right word. So in a planner in a municipal administration, he would be receiving plans and judging plans and sort of doing that, or he would make frameworks for master plans or larger plans. So you have, but as a consultant, normally you are hired for developer or from a architect or something that want to get their plans or their project through, and then you apply for the planner in the municipal administration. So you have sort of two different planners. You have one working for state or governments and us consultants. So I'm a consultant. I mainly work with. I've only worked for 3 years, so just over 3 years. So I mean, it's not much. But tying into since our project takes so much time, I don't think any of my projects are finished yet. Or most of my projects aren't even started, in a sense. So, but some of the projects I'm working on now are high-speed rail in eastern Norway. So it's really, really interesting. And I've worked on several high-speed rail projects, but they are mostly, how do you say, they're on a very the scale is very big. So you're going across counties or something, right?
How would the project look like? Like where's the beginning and where do you come in?
Good question. So usually you have a developer. They probably hire architects first, or landscape architects or engineers, to see if even what they want to do is economically feasible. Most of the time, so most of it is structures, right? You build a structure, or a park is also a structure. Some people think that parks are natural. They're not. It's a structure. It's a building, so to speak. Yeah. But sometimes they can also go directly to us. It depends on the project, but mostly it's through we will work on a project after an architect or somebody has drawn some plans, right? So it's some drawings and or a model. So that's how it starts, and then we go through a long process of talking to the municipal administration. Get in touch. You start sort of talking about the plan, what we're thinking. You get the first feedback. You start with your planning, the structure of the plan, and you also have different plans, and many countries have different sort of plans. So in Norway we have a rule set of plans, and it's mostly based of European law. So we have to study law as well. We'll get into that later. But in America it could be different. In Asia it could be different. But mostly it's about you have a master plan from the government or the administration, and based on that master plan, you might take a small area, and then that's our project,
Mm-hmm.
and then we make a new plan for that area that's more detailed. So
Mm-hmm.
you have like a big scale plan and then like a small scale plan.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, and then you will work through those plans, and then in the end you'll get a product, I guess, when everybody's happy. And maybe most importantly, I think, is the whole communication process. So inviting people. So we talked about influencing people,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is, you know, the best and worst thing about this. So you need to invite the people that are going to be infected.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You need to invite neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
You need to invite, you know, just people that are interested in what's happening in their city.
Right.
And they need to get involved, and you need to involve people. And if you show the administration that you have involved people, you know, normally the whole process will go much more smoothly.
Yeah.
And it will most of the time be a better product as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's in the interest of the developer and architect too, to, you know, involve people. So that's, you know, that's why I said that we're sort of like an intermediary between all these professions, and I work with all kinds of engineers and all kinds of, you know, architects and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot, because of that. So that's nice.
What are some of the tools that you use?
So, I mean, we've all moved to like a digital world. We all work with digital tools. I mostly work with like, so we worked actually together. We didn't talk about this earlier, but we worked in the same company. Yeah, and you kind of know a couple of these tools, but we could be working with AutoCAD or
Mhm.
CAD, so computer aided design.
Mm-hmm.
Which is just, you know, fancy digital way of drawing something on a map, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It could be in 3D, it could be in 2D, like you could be drawing just regular plans, or you could be working with a 3D model.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mostly in an urban planning sense, it's important to have the 3D aspect, but most of what you deliver is a normal like 2D map. And if you've seen an urban plan, it looks just like somebody just threw colors on a map. It's just like red, blue, yellow, whatever, you know, just throw it on there. But those colors mean something. They might mean industrial area or mixed use.
Mm-hmm.
In a city today, in modern time, we mostly use, or modern is a bad word, but in contemporary time, like right now, we mostly use mixed zones in city centers. So yeah, but that's a digression. We use GIS, so geographic. What's the term? Geographic information systems. Yeah. Which is, you know, kind of like CAD, but more broadly termed. And we work, you know, just drawing. I think drawing is important as well even for urban planners. I mean, I went to architecture school too, and I think it's important for everybody to draw.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's also important for urban planners to draw. Even if it's only just lines and squiggles and colors or whatever, just to sort of get in their mind what they're working on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I definitely think that the visual part is important both for the urban planner, but as you said, especially if you want to influence all the decision makers, like somehow you need to show how it will look like.
Yeah.
Do you think that there are some examples that a project was not accepted? Like, is it possible that an architect and some engineers will make the feasibility plan, and then together with the urban planners, you will go to the decision makers, and then they will say no? Is that possible?
Yeah.
And why would that happen? And
yeah. Yes, it is feasible. That's a big question.
And when they say no, does that mean not now? Because anyway,
have
they will
you
not.
done this before?
And when they say no, does that mean that okay, just no for the next 4 years?
Mm-hmm.
But that means we can approach them maybe next time. Would they say no just because of self-interest party thing, or?
Wow. Yeah. Most of the time, a no is usually, if you get a no, it's usually because either the administration has some laws, like the municipalities, so the smaller governments, or the larger governments can all have their different laws, and some of them are in our law books, and some of them are very very local, and most of the time if you get a no, it's basically because you've broken one of those rules. And I think in Oslo or in cities often it's because of maybe you want to build higher than they want to, like they have height restrictions or something, or maybe you don't want to have as many parks. That's usually not a problem, but parking, or maybe you don't have enough trees, like they have a code for trees, like they want to have X amount of trees for X amount of people or something. There are tons of different rules. So as a planner, you need to understand, you need to know these rules. Like when you're working Oslo, like I do, mostly, not always, when I start a project, I need to sort of dive in and know what their rules are. And most of those rules and laws are in the master plan and in the sort of, so if I get a no, it means that I haven't done my job. And if an architect or a developer gets a no, it might mean they haven't used us. I don't know. But we sort of we sort of kind of have to work with a law language as well as a design and spatial planning. It's also about people's lives and property, so there needs to be rules about how you do stuff, and which is also why it takes a long time. Right? It needs to take a long time. If it doesn't take a long time, then people will get hurt. People will lose their homes, or lots of, and it's people can get really upset, and for good reasons. So
if it doesn't take time, that means there are not enough people involved in the project, right?
Well, some things need to take time. Like I was trying to get into, sometimes it needs to take a lot of time because people need to get used to it. So if you build something, if you want to get a new building built, I use building a lot, but it could be a railway. It needs to take a long time because from when you start and give people information that they might lose their home, or that they will get a railway as a neighbor, or that they'll get the opportunity to travel to Oslo in 10 minutes in a high-speed way. Like for some people it will be negatives, for some people there will be positives, but it needs to take time because we need to the information needs to be digested by people. I mean, we're not machines, so it's it's feelings, it's money, it's all these things that we care about. Our homes, like your childhood, or you grew up in a home, you might lose it, stuff like that, and it needs to take time to people, so people can digest it, and so that's also why it takes time, and it's a good thing.
This reminds me of an interview that I had with an organizational psychologist in change management. It kind of seems that you guys are using like ADKAR, like first you build awareness, this is going to happen, right? And then you give a little bit of time to digest, and then you kind of want them to want this, right? And then you make it happen. But how do you test it? How do you go through the different phases? Like, do you use media? Like, do you you have a collaboration with the media and like, hey guys, this is what's going to happen.
Okay.
What's your opinion about it? Let's start a dialogue.
Well, so one of the things are, by Norwegian law you have to, but I think at least in the EU as well, but you have to actually go through the media in most plans. So because you need to inform people, so you need to do it by law, but you also want to do it, so you can get your input. But you might start out with a newspaper, so like having like a page or something, or part of a page. If you probably have like in a newspaper, you probably have like a section where you have lots of like plans, like all over the page, in this part of town, that part of town. So we do that, but that's only what's sort of required of us. We also there could be like you can create a web page for a project, right? But you'll also probably invite neighbors and people that are interested to meetings, because one thing is like building a model or building a drawing something, or and then putting it up there as a drawing.
Mm-hmm.
And architects do that all the time, and that's fine. Like, you know, making you've probably seen like these 3D models.
Mm-hmm.
This is like the picture thing where you have like a building and a street and a park and then like birds and balloons and people running around, you know, and people are happy. It's bullshit, you know. And so you need to invite people to you know, to a meeting and see them face to face, you know. And people. So yeah, like I said, we're humans. We're not machines. We need to sort of understand something and meet other people. So yeah, you do all those kinds of things, and depending on the process, like the high-speed rail project I'm in now.
Mm-hmm.
So this project might take 20, 30 years. You know, it could take half my life if I want to. So there will be lots of, you know, plans in that project. There's not only one plan, and there will be lots of meetings, you know, through the whole plan, and some parts will finish, you know, before others, and you know, this whole process of spatial planning, and you basically sort of you plan human lives, I guess, and human futures. So it's really you need to step, what's it called, tread lightly, and respect people, you know, respect people's lives, you know, that's important. So media and presentation is really important. Communication is important.
Right. So if we can change gears a little bit, how did you end up working as an urban planner? And here we can go into your studying period. Yeah.
Okay. So I know from listening to some of your podcasts that you applied for architecture, right? Yeah. Or you started the application process.
Yeah. So I did study for I think it was 6 months to apply for architecture, but then I was kind of afraid, and then I dropped all my lessons before my architecture exam. So I kind of knew that I didn't want to go to the exam actually. Yeah.
Okay, so I kind of did something similar, but and that's fine. You know, I think that's important to just try stuff out. But so it's weird. Like, I guess I always knew that I was supposed to be a city planner or an urban planner. When I was a kid, I grew up. My family was they were boat builders. I'm from the south coast, and so I would take, like, we had lots of wood chips and stuff lying around, so I would take those, like, small angular ones, and I'll make buildings. And I had micro machines, so I would make streets, and I would draw maps by hand, like just this little kid. I would draw cities. Later on, you know, on my PC, I would play SimCity. And you know, so I guess, and I remember talking to my parents about, you know, city planning is fun. Can you work with that stuff? And they're like, yeah, you need to be an architecture engineer, right? And I thought, oh, okay, cool. So I went to sort of like the normal route of like, what's it called, like natural sciences, through all high school and stuff. I didn't, like, looking back, it was probably a dumb decision. I probably should have done social sciences instead and gotten much better grades, because my grades sucked. So yeah, and then I applied. I went to engineering school after the army. We have conscription in Norway, I went to engineering. Didn't like it, dropped out after about a year, and then I started making a portfolio for architecture. And I don't know. I also, at the same time, or a bit later, I applied for a school in Ås, which is outside of Oslo, and they have like they're like maybe 2 old planning schools in Norway, and that's one of them. The other is technical, is in Trondheim, and I went to the one in Ås. And I don't know if I got cold feet about the architecture thing or what happened, but I threw away the portfolio and then went to Ås. And I also thought, like, the school seemed really cool, and the program was great. Like, I could see that the program was really laid out as a sort of like a professional study, like you study towards a profession, and not just, you know, getting a degree or
Yeah.
whatever that means. But so it's a 5-year professional study, and it also took 6 months in the U.S. At an architecture school and planning school as well. There, I took lots of interesting things and urban design classes. Really interesting. So yeah.
So how was how were those 5 years? Like what type of courses did you take? Like was it challenging? Was it interesting? Some courses maybe might be boring. And how much do you think you used from your education when you actually applied for a job?
Yeah. So you have I guess you have two sort of you also have different sort of routes, and that goes for different professions as well. But you have urban planning. You often call it urban and regional planning, but you can go a route of regional planning where you might work out in an area where not a lot of people live, but you have sort of different needs. You might all live in an urban area, but as an urban planner, your focus is a bit different. And I've always been more interested in architectural history, in planning theory, and also in design and drawing. So I took all those classes that I could within those subjects, and I've always been like a geek when it comes to technology. So I wanted to learn how to use computer-aided design, GIS, 3D visualizations, all those things. So I went to all those courses, and I think that the whole, like I said, it was like a professional study, and the 5 years there weren't many subjects that I didn't use. I think it was really good. It was spot on, I think, and we worked a lot with landscape architects, which is ties in, and I work with landscape architects every day, and you will probably if you are an urban planning consultant anyway. So yeah.
So what were the job prospects after you finished?
They were pretty good. So I think they're usually pretty good for urban planning, because there's the natural, what's it called, like
Growth, population.
Yeah, but also people get old or stop working and stuff like that. So and population growth and city growth, like Oslo has grown insanely in just the last 10-20 years. So they were pretty good, and I think even though Norway was we've been pretty lucky in Norway in terms of our economy the last 30 years. I'm 30 years old, so but even when times are tough, finding a job in urban planning is usually pretty easy, or easy is probably the right word, but compared to at least architecture, which is much more what's it called? They're much more greatly impacted by the economy compared to urban planning, because there will always be laws. There will always be, if the economy is bad, then usually what happens is that the government starts pushing money into infrastructure. That's sort of if there's good years, you'll spend less in infrastructure and you'll build more buildings or whatever and big projects like the opera in Oslo or whatever. But if the economy is bad, you'll just sort of push more money into infrastructure. And on both of those sort of economic situations, we have lots of work.
Yeah.
So there's it's so usually, I mean, it's not a big problem. But when I got out of high school, university, it was pretty good. Like the times were pretty good, and I think they still are. So I got a job. I applied in May. My master's, I delivered my master's in May, and I got a job the day after, I think.
Oh, really?
But a lot of people actually got a job before they delivered their masters in my sort of class. So yeah.
How do you see the market in 5 years? And do you think somehow urban planning is directly connected with the technological advancements, both in materials and artificial intelligence, or is somehow because it's dependent on the law part that you said, somehow it will be all the time a connection between the decision makers, which probably will be a little bit slower in the adoption of the technology in the private market?
I think you got it. No, but seriously, I think all of us, like all professions, will be affected by AI or technology in some way. But I think in urban planning, it's all about people's lives, people's homes. It's about history. It's about and tying that in with your rights as a human, as a resident, or as a human being. You have rights, right? If you've bought a home, you have rights tied to that, or attached to that home. So so you sort of like need to have an understanding of people, and unless like AI becomes like extremely good or whatever, and there's no need for communication between people. I don't know. That's far out for me, but I think there will always be sort of like a need for communication and closeness, and I think from history, if we like, you can love an animal, but you don't understand it. You can. I think it will take a long time for people to understand other things than people.
Yeah.
So I think you need to kind of be a person to be able to understand. So if you can sit down with a person and sort of go like, yeah, we're going to buy your property, and not that I do that as much, but you sort of like need to be a face-to-face situation, and you need to sort of take your time. But you could probably like draw maps and make illustrations through AI or technology faster. So you probably don't need. I probably don't need to spend as much of my time as I do on illustrations, probably, or on a lot of things that I am spending my time on today. But I think you'll always need people in that process of communication. Yeah.
Got it. We're almost at the end. Just a couple of questions more.
Okay.
I don't know.
Time flies fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if the live stream on Facebook works or not, but if it works, just say hi, guys. If you could choose 3 books as a mandatory read for all high school, college students, and here it can be from the industry, but also in general, that you think everyone should read.
Yeah.
That maybe there were like some Quake books for a life. Like
Maybe, yeah. I actually have 3 written down.
Yeah.
I come prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a planner.
Appreciate that,
yeah. No, but I think there's one book, or there's at least like all of these books you need to read, but I think there's at least 2 of these that you should read, and one that is a total must. And Jane Jacobs, she's well known. She wasn't an architect or planner or anything, but she was just I guess an activist. She lived in New York. The book is called The Death and Life of Great American Cities, and in the book she basically takes apart what's wrong with modern planning. And it basically, if you could say it in 2 words, it's all about, the car, in the 50s and 60s in most of the Western world, the car just, came and became like the biggest part of our lives.
Yeah.
And that made a big impact on the city, and it still has. And we're still trying to like figure out and fix it. And she was like one of the leading people to talk about that problem. And I think everybody should read that. And then you have, so I wrote this one down. Actually, I haven't actually read the whole thing myself.
Yeah.
Spiro Kostov, I don't know if that's pronounced right, but it's called The City Shaped. So it's urban patterns and meanings through history. So it's basically the shape of cities and how they have evolved. So, a city in the medieval age looked different, like physically looked different and worked different from today, or in the 1600s where they had different ideas, right? Or a Roman town looked different, right? And they functioned differently. So it's more about that, sort of like the fabric of cities.
Do you think do you think the form of the city is based also on their function? Like when you say city, it's all the time like a honey pot that comes to mind. Like the cities should be built like honey pot.
Yeah. Form follows function to a degree.
Yeah.
but also form follows history. So that's why I also talked about earlier on how in urban planning or architecture or whatever, it's all about space and time, and cities will look different based on their function, but also on what they functioned like, 100, 200, or if they even existed 200 years ago, or how they looked like 1,000 years ago or older. Like we have cities in Europe and in the Middle East that are, thousands and thousands and thousands of years old. If you go to Rome, which is one of my favorite cities, you'll see, actually it's pretty impressive, you can see layers of cities, like you can see buildings, I'm sorry. So in really old cities, you'll actually have like kind of like a cake. Like the city is built on top of like ruins of an old city, on top of a ruin of the old city, on top of ruins. So if you go to Rome, you can go down to basements and you can start off in a 300-year-old church, go down the steps and be into, you might be inside like a 600-year-old church, and then you go down another flight of steps, and then you're in a Roman apartment from like 2,000 years ago.
Oh.
So yeah. And so yeah, I love my profession. So history is really important. So I think that's also so that book really by Spiro Kostov, it really takes that sort of apart and looks at history and how history forms cities in sort of like in function and in patterns and stuff like that. So, and the last book I guess is a book that I read at an early age, J.R. Tolkien, The Hobbit. And the reason is, I guess, is so I haven't really talked much about writing, but writing is important in when you're an urban planner. Writing well and being able to convey whatever you're doing or whatever you're planning in a good way. Like so, writing is really important. And he was also a great storyteller, like one of the best. So storytelling is also part of it, like telling the story of the city or telling the story. And he was Tolkien was amazing at creating worlds, and also he was really good at drawing maps. So and I'm a map geek, so he was like, I think he was probably one of the people that influenced me the most when it came to like drawing maps. I could remember like reading his books and reading the story, and then like going pages back and then looking at the map and like, oh yeah, they're there, like, and then they're moving there, right? And that's sort of like, that's sort of like how urban planning is, right? You're telling a story, but you always need maps to like show where you are or what you mean. So you're writing and looking at maps, and so yeah, that sort of like ties into what I do. And
I think maps have a lot of power, because you can visualize something much better. Can you recommend us some other resources that we can check, like websites, blogs, podcasts, where people watching or listening can learn more about urban planning, or maybe read about the history of a city, or just resources that you think they're really interesting to check?
Ooh. Wow. I think so. If you're a Norwegian or from Oslo, there are lots of great resources that I know of. But I think this goes for many cities. So I guess if you're from any city, just Google your city and historical maps or old pictures. So in Oslo, it's called Gamle Oslo-bildet. Which are great. It's just amazing. And it really is great in terms of understanding. You can write in your address and you can get a picture from the street, so kind of like a street view photo of how like your street looked like maybe 200 years ago. Or probably like the street view. That's not a photo 200 years ago. But you get a map, or 100 years ago you'll get a photo of how that your street looked. Or maybe during the invasion, the Nazi invasion, maybe like in the Second World War or whatever. So yeah, that's amazing. Like, and you probably have resources all over the world like that. So I also use I use Reddit. Do you use Reddit? Yeah. So you have in Reddit you have subreddits. So if you Google Reddit and then whatever you're interested in, like write Reddit and then spacebar and then maybe urban planning, you'll come to a subreddit where people are talking about urban planning, and you have lots of links there. So I think that, or do architecture as well, because architecture also sort of ties in, or landscape architecture and whatever, urban design, which is also something, urban studies, all these words, you know, Google it and sort of like check out Reddit and all these discussion forums, and you'll get lots of great links and stories and ideas. And people there talk about their jobs as well. So some people will come by and ask, so what's it like, you know, working as an urban planner right now, or architect or whatever, and you can check it out. It's too, not to take away your work or from podcast, but yeah, you know, the more information, the better, I think. So
yeah, actually, I was going to post this episode there. Maybe.
Yeah, you should. Yeah. Damn. No pressure. Yeah, but yeah, that's cool. Yeah, yeah. I think I just started sweating more, but yeah, that's good. I don't think I have that many more. I guess I could open my bookmarks and check out, but or I can give you some links and you can put it in the podcast afterwards, maybe.
Yeah, if you can send me the links, I can put them at 99careeroptions.com on the blog post.
Cool.
Here.
Yeah, I have like a huge bookmark library, and of urban planning and design and architecture. So
don't you get lost?
I do. Yeah, definitely. And some of those I'll probably have never visited. Like you bookmark something, never go back.
Yeah, but actually I just found that send to email works much better now. You know, like instead of bookmarking, you can actually send to your email and it comes like an email.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Do you use Inbox then, like by Google? Because it's really, of course. That sounds good. Might try that. Yeah. Yeah,
because also like I had like hundreds and hundreds of bookmarks by my obsessive control freak, just to have everything organized. But most of them I just don't go back.
No,
I totally forget about.
And even if you try to go back, it's like, oh, where did I put it? Like, and you and you might as well just Google it, like, and then you probably find the same page, and then you go like, oh, I already bookmarked this. Okay, yeah.
Exactly. What life lessons did you learn the hard way?
Okay, so this is I don't know. This is pretty deep, but I guess it fits. But my father died in 2008, so it's some years back. But being in control of your life, like you never know. I guess it's really stupid to say you never know when you're gonna die. But like
it's true.
But it's true. But controlling, sort of like taking control of your life and your future is really important. So even though you're young, you need to like take what's it called? Take control of your life, I guess, and do what. I guess this is really stupid. Do what you love isn't really. I don't know if you really need to do that. But look at your life and then maybe look at something that you love doing or like doing even, and try to connect that with other things that you like. So it might be like, for me it was I liked drawing and urban planning or whatever, but I also really liked, like I worked at a shop, so I understood that I like people too, like I like socializing and I like to talk to people. Okay, like so those things work together, and so maybe like yes, I know a lot of people don't really you just live day by day, but sort of take care of your situation and write down your life, I guess, and where you want to be, and then look at how you can get there. Because life can be short and life can be long, but you never know. So sort of be in charge of your life, and planning is a part of that. So I don't know.
I think a very good example on what you said right now, and an exercise that people can do is like looking at your life as a movie. So you're actually your principal actor in a movie. How would you like that movie to go? How would you like that movie to end? Because you are in control.
Yeah.
And I see that there are a lot of people that also like being the captain of a ship. Life. You can live life and just let the ship go and just float
Yeah.
into the sea,
Yeah.
and you don't know where, but or you can be the captain. You can make every choice. You can plan the
Yeah.
choice, and that's not to say, as you said, that you cannot control everything.
Mhm.
But why not take control of what you can?
Exactly.
Right.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, I think that's one of the advice. That's what I learned the hard way, because you know, stuff like that is hard, but you learn stuff from it, and I think I learned, like, that was one of the things that I learned from that was, take control.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's not really that hard. Don't make it hard on yourself. Just take control, and
Exactly.
it will become easier because you have taken that step to take control. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, that's I guess that's one of those things that you can do.
What advice would you give to your 18 years old self?
Oh shit! Don't sleep with that girl. No, no, I'm just kidding. What would I say? I mean, I kind of already said something like that. Like I should maybe like I could have I'm 30 now. I could have done a lot more stuff, but also 18. I guess I would have said, like, don't stress too much about it. Like, don't chill out. One thing is, being in control. Once you take control, you can look back and you can go, okay, I mean, that wasn't like a big deal. And when you're 18, when you're a teenager, you will make often like a lot of fuss about something that isn't really a big deal. And that's just a general thing. I think everybody does that. So just don't make a big deal about it, and then focus on what you like to do, and just go for it, I guess. But I didn't really do that much. I don't think I did that much wrong, so I don't like look back and think that I did lots of mistakes. I think I lived life, and you learn lessons as you go. So, I think that, as I said it before, if I'm not saying, if I don't give a lesson to 18-year-old myself, maybe to the other 18-year-olds, it's probably like the same idea. Just take control of your life and work towards the goals that you put forth. I guess. I don't know. We can cut that out, but yeah. But yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for you taking the time to talk about your career path and your work. And I do appreciate you getting personal and being real.
Yeah. Of course, always. There's no need to not get real.
Yeah. So thank you so much. I have no doubts that a lot of people will find this very useful and very inspirational. Thank you guys for watching. I don't know if we're still live. I don't know if the internet connection. Yeah, or the phone died. But yeah, thanks for watching.
Peace.
Thank you, Jesper.
Tack. It's a bit warm under here.
Yeah.
I think I got most of the stuff that I wanted to say, so that's cool.
Yeah, actually, I was considering, having a question by the end.
Yeah.
Saying to people, storage almost full.
Oh, does it record when it does the whole Facebook thing as well?